13 on page 84. We did do this last year, although you guys probably don't recall. X minus minus plus. Okay. So yesterday we did some of these with grouping. This would be an example. Well, actually it looks like grouping would work. But grouping doesn't always work, so we're going to learn a new trick, or remind you of an old trick maybe. It's called a rational root theorem. Rational means fraction, basically. If there is a rational answer, this trick can help you find it. So you use factors of the last coefficient over factors of the first coefficient. Okay, so what are the factors of 1? 1. What are, and then the first coefficient is a 1 also. What are the factors of 1? 1. Not a lot of options here. So the possible rational roots are 1 over 1. Okay, but factors could also be 1 times 1 equals 1, but also negative 1 times negative 1 equals 1. So these could all be positive or negative. So those are possible rational roots. You could still have an irrational root. By the way, we're not really supposed to learn this yet, but if it's a cubic function, like whatever the degree of the function is, that tells you probably how many roots it should have. Not always, but usually should have 3. So we might get one of these rational roots, like a normal answer, and we might have a couple answers that are like plus or minus I squared, something irrational or imaginary.
So we're just doing rational roots today, right?
Now we're solving the whole thing, but we're starting with rational roots. So how can I tell if 1 is an answer or negative 1 is an answer? Plug it in. So if I do 1 minus 1 minus 1, if I plug in 1, I get 1 minus 1 minus 1 plus 1. Does that equal 0?
No.
Yes, it does. 1 minus 1 minus 1 plus 1. Yeah, that does equal 0. So what I'm going to do, if 1 is a root, and it is, what that tells me is x minus 1 is a factor. So what I'm going to do is divide this polynomial by x minus 1. How do I divide by x minus 1? Put 1 in the box. You guys listening?
Try it.
No, you're not. Start. Okay, if I'm so 1's an answer, and basically I'm dividing it out as an answer. And what's left over after I divide this out will be an x squared thing that I can either factor or use quadratic formula on. Okay, we've kind of done something like this before. So you add down, multiply up. Add down, multiply up. If you don't get a 0 out here, you did something wrong.
Oh. Real quick, what is the x minus 1 again?
Okay, I'm saying if 1 is a root, is a 0 of the function, that means x minus 1 is a factor. So basically what we're doing is dividing this by x minus 1, which means we're putting 1 in the box. So 1's in a root, I'm putting 1 in the box to kind of divide it out as an answer. Okay, what I'm left with is this. What does this tell me? This is x squared minus 1. And I can kind of find my last two answers by setting this equal to 0 and solving. So how could I solve this?
Add 1.
Okay, you could add 1 and square root it, or it factors to x plus 1, x minus 1. So x equals negative 1 and positive 1. Now, we already had 1 as an answer from before. So one is kind of an answer twice. You can't have one and answer twice, but later on we'll learn it's called a double root, but it still only counts as one answer though. So positive one and negative one are the two answers.
But I thought when we plugged positive one back into like the big problem, never mind. That was when I accidentally thought it was minus one. Never mind.
Yeah, well, it turns out if negative one is an answer, plugging negative one in should work also. But since I got one as an answer, I just divided it out to see to find my last two answers. There's no guarantee that you'll get more than one normal answer on these. Okay, number 15. All right, how did we start?
First and last.
The factors of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of tempting us because this would factor pretty easy, like we did yesterday, right? But we're gonna still practice the other method. Not all these factor, by the way. Yesterday's they all did. Today's mostly they won't. So we're gonna use factors of 9 over factors of 1. So what are the factors of 9?
3, 1, 9.
Okay, and factors of 1 are 1. So the possible rational roots are 1 over 1, 3 over 1, or 9 over 1. But they could all be positive or negative. So we've got 6 options. Well, which is probably the easiest one to check? 1. Okay, so if I plug in 1, I get 1 minus 10, negative 9, plus 9, 0. So 1 is a solution. However, I kind of need to find 2 solutions. Do you guys know why?
It's the first.
Jerry? Huh?
The first thing did you say the x to the fourth? That told you how many answers there were.
Right. This tells me there's like 4 answers or maybe a double root, so it's not. But I need to get this down to an x squared. So it's like factorable or quadratic formula. So if I take one answer out, that'll give me down an x cubed. So I need to kind of take 2 answers out. We could take the 1 out and then try it again. Yeah, let's do it that way. Okay, what are my coefficients going to be? 1?
Negative 10.
No.
Negative 2.
No.
Said it twice. 9.
0.
Oh,
0.
Negative 10. 0. 9.
Oh, shoot. 0.
Okay, I'm going to divide the 1 answer out. Okay, down, multiply up.
So we're just gonna do it.
So this means 1x cubed plus 1x squared minus 9x minus 9. This contains like 3 factors, 3 answers. I need to kind of keep plugging stuff in here. So these options up here. We can plug in 1, negative 1, 3. Okay, we'll try 3. That would be 27 minus 27. Hey, is that a guess?
Yeah.
Okay, good guess.
Thank you.
So 3 is also an answer.
Just really cool, I guess. No.
Maybe taking that a little too far. Seems like that. Okay, so I'm going to divide 3 out as an answer. So I got 1 and 3 are answers. Going to divide by 3. Really, we're divided by x minus 3 is what's happening. But Okay, now that it's a quadratic, you can either use quadratic formula, that's the next word, or factor. How's this factor?
3.
Yeah, well, multiplies into 3, that adds up to 4. So x equals -1, or -3, or what else?
Positive 1.
+1 and +3. So it turns out all 4 of these would have worked if we'd plugged them in. Plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, I guess you could say.
And how did you know the positive 3 was? Oh yeah, because we just did.
Because we plugged it in.
How do we get the first one? I got everything else.
The first, this one,
Yeah.
plugged in 1 up here. You got, and it worked. It worked as a solution. It would be 1 minus 10 is -9 plus 9 is 0.
You
Okay,
need one solution before you can do the synthetic division.
well, yeah, once we got the 1 worked, I used synthetic division to kind of divide it out
Okay.
and then find. Sometimes if 1's a double root, we could have plugged 1 in here and it would have worked again. That's kind of when it gets tricky, but Sam said try 3, so we did, and that worked also. All 4 of these would have worked if we tried it. The 9s would not have worked. All right. Wait, 17. X3 is cube, right? Okay, this one grouping wouldn't work, so this is like the first one that doesn't actually factor. Which doesn't matter because we had to do it the other way anyway. So, how am I going to start?
2.
Factors of 2, which are
2 and
1 and 2, over factors of 3. Okay, so it could be 1 over 1. Could be 2 over 1, 2. Could be 1 over 3. Could be 2 over 3. And these all could be positive or negative. Okay, since this is only a cubic function, an x to the third function, if we just find one answer, divide it out, then we'll be left with a quadratic that we can solve. They've been pretty nice to us so far. Let's see if 1 works again. So when you plug in 1, it's easy because 1 cubed is still 1 times 3 is 3, so it doesn't really do much. So it'd be 3 minus 4, -1 minus 5, -6 plus 2. Nope, that work. Okay, I'll plug in -1. When you plug in -1, that would be, cubed would be -1, so this would be -3. This would be positive 1 times 4 is minus 4 is -7. Plus 5 is -2 plus 2, yeah, -1 works. Yeah, you gotta be careful, because if you screw up, then you'll like not find it, and you'll keep going down the list. So, I don't know, use your calculator. On your calculator, by the way, here, I'll put it over here. You basically do this. Okay, and then if, well, don't put equals here. Hit equals, and then if it's not 0, you got it wrong, right? So just go back, hit the back arrow on your calculator, and just go change these 3 numbers back into something else. You guys see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Until you get something that equals 0. All right. What are the coefficients? 3, -4, -5, and 2. Okay, I think this one does factor because 3 times 2 is 6 and 1 times 1 can get you up to 7. But if you don't feel comfy factoring, just use that for your ABC on your quadratic formula. That should work too. So what goes into 3x squared? 3x times x. What multiplies into 2? 2 and 1. Because it adds that up to -7, we need to use -2 and -1. So when we FOIL, we get -6 minus 1, which is -7. Okay, so x equals 2 or 1/3. Oh,
And
almost forgot. Yeah, the -1 from before. Alright, uno más. Uno más. Alright, this one definitely doesn't factor. This is it's gonna be the harder version because there's a 4. So we're gonna have to take a couple answers out. And it's a harder version for another reason. Okay, so how do I find the possible answers?
first and last.
-3 and 1.
Yeah, factors of 3 over factors of 1. You don't really need to worry about the negative because all the factors are positive or negative. So factors of 3, factors of 1. 1 over 1, 3 over 1. So it's 1 or 3.
Doesn't that mean all of them work since like x?
No, this one is going to be weird. It's like 20 is going to be like this too.
Does it have a double root?
It's going to have, no. It's, well, actually it does. But the weird part is it's going to have irrational answers, like square root answers, which we could never find. If they were all square root answers, we could never find them using this method. But it's got at least a couple, or it wouldn't be in this section. All right, so let me plug in 1. It'd be 1 plus 2 minus 2, 1 minus 6 minus 3. No, that's not 0. Okay, -1, uh-oh. That would be positive 1, -2, 2 plus 6 minus 3. Wait, did I do that right? Minus 2 plus 1. Yeah. Okay, so we got 6 plus 1 is 7, minus 2 minus 2 minus 3 is minus 7. So that does actually work. So -1 is a solution. And I'm going to divide it out. Adding down, multiplying up. Got a song from Spanish class from like almost 30 years ago in my head. It got stuck in me. Congratulations, Spanish teacher. You did.
The fruit song.
Das frutas mínimo.
Muchas frutas mínimo.
That's all
That's all we got. Okay, so those options from before, plus or minus 1, we need to find one more that works. so we can get it down to an x squared. Notice it's down to an x cubed, so we're getting smaller. That's good. Actually, this looks like grouping would work, but no, we're not gonna cheat.
3.
Wait, grouping shouldn't work. Okay, anyways, what do you guys want to try?
3.
Okay, if I plug in 3, no,
Negative 3.
-3. No, I don't think that's it. Well, actually, I shouldn't have put 1 on the list because we already checked 1 up there and it didn't work. So what have I not checked?
Negative 1.
-1 is a double root. That's kind of my only option, really. Okay, so sometimes after you take an answer out, it'll work again. It's called a double root. Could be a triple root, although they didn't do that to you. They're not quite that mean. Let me double check that. Yeah, I don't see any of those. There are some double roots, but I don't see triple roots. Okay, so -1 should work again because I checked all the others. 3, -3, and 1 did not work. So I'm stepping out in faith here. Also, I looked at the answer in the book. So it's not a lot of faith, really.
What?
So we're left with x squared minus 3 equals 0. Oh, yeah. Grouping would have worked, yeah, that makes sense.
Does that mean square root of, I squared 3?
Nah, not quite.
Plus or minus 3. God, are you kidding me? No! Oh shoot, plus or minus square root of 3.
Yeah. Plus or minus square root of 3, comma, what?
No.
Negative 1.
-1. The double root.
Just not sound good.
It's not. Oh,
Still didn't get the plus or minus. And you added an I for incorrectly.
Or just makes your day worse.
That's it. The end. I didn't add the last two. I don't know why.
still have weight training. That was a good part.